Hello and welcome to Body and Mind Uncensored. We're your hosts, Kelli
and Taleese. Combining 26 years of nursing experience, we're dedicated to sharing our expertise in mental health and women's health with as many people as possible.
The topics discussed in this podcast are based on our educated opinions and real-life experience and should not replace advice from your healthcare team. Hi, Taleese. Welcome back.
Good morning, Kelli.
How's everything today?
You know, I'll be honest with you. Usually when we record these, I'm sitting at my desk or my table or somewhere upright. And if I could turn my camera around and show everybody what the setup I've got going on here just so I can be in my couch.
Yeah.
It is chilling. A couch morning. Yeah, I just kind of woke up feeling like I needed a lazy day. So I think I'm going to take it.
You might as well take advantage of it, especially now that you're back in your house.
Yes,
no more AC issues, knock on wood.
Just got to get us through the rest of this hot summer. Yes. It was a quick fix. We were at my in-laws for quite a while because we were also afraid that if we worked on I'll just give you a quick backstory. We moved here. It's a 20-year-old home. We knew the air conditioning, the HVAC was old. So we did purchase a home warranty. That home warranty, select home warranty, is a piece of crap. We'll put them on blast. So we stayed at my in-laws for a few weeks because our air conditioner wouldn't work, wouldn't hold a temp, and just have been battling our home warranty, only to have them do absolutely nothing. And we paid to have a Band-Aid put on it. It's still 20 years old, and so it won't last forever. But we are back in our house. We were hesitant to do anything during those few weeks because home warranties or any warranty insurance, if you work on it, it's null and void. So anything that we would have done to it, they could have said, well, we're not going to pay for it now because you did this to it. So our hands were tied, but we're home. We went ahead and got it done. We were getting nowhere with the select home warranty company, and here we are.
That's so frustrating. It's like anytime you buy the extended warranty or anything else and you come to find out that the small print at the bottom, this isn't covered, or that's not covered, or, oh, we're just limited to X, Y, and Z. That's so frustrating. I'm sorry. But I'm glad you're home.
Very glad I'm home. I guess what really it boiled down to is they wanted us to provide them 3 years of maintenance work on the air conditioner. We just moved here in February. This was a warranty for us, not for the previous owners. Yeah. And so we felt like them wanting us to try and find the old owners, and 3 years was just hoops for us to jump through for them to find a reason not to cover it. And
that's such a pain.
It really has been, but we're home.
Sorry. Well, I'm glad you're home. Hopefully that AC sticks out, and yeah. Well, today I wanted to talk about something that I think a lot of us have dealt with. Have you ever had that when you're at dinner, at a nice dinner, or even just a random dinner at a restaurant, and you have that kid who's constantly looking over your shoulder or kicking on the back of your seat, or on an airplane and they're kicking the back of your seat, or crying or throwing a tantrum in the grocery store, or any of those things. So that's what I wanted to talk about today.
You want to talk about kids being out of control, or parents out of control?
Parenting, yeah. So do kids' behaviors have anything to do with how their parents parent them?
I would have to say absolutely. Yeah. I think it's like the dog thing. Like, there's no bad dog, just bad owners. Yeah. So I think kids do come with traits and behaviors that we don't instill in them, but we can foster a different behavior from them.
Yeah. Well, and there's all kinds of kids out there, like you said. Some things are controlled, some things you can't. Like children who have autism, you can't really control their outbursts or how they behave all the time. But for the most part, I think that parents do have a lot to do with how their kids behave in society. Those that might not have a disability, especially. So
today, let's talk about the kid who does not have any diagnosis, right? Because we all know that there's those special circumstances where parenting has to take a different approach. Yes, so today we're going to be talking about run-of-the-mill parenting, nothing out of the ordinary, just different styles of parenting.
Yes. Do you know how many different types of parenting there are?
Well, I'm going to give you a smart aleck answer and just say as many different kinds of parents there are, because everybody has their own parenting style. Yeah. But there are classified lists, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to say 5.
Okay. There's 4 that are actually classified.
Okay.
So let's talk about each one individually and kind of talk about it. So an authoritarian parent, that's the first one. They seek to maintain a high level of control over their children. They may set and adhere to a strict set of rules and are more likely to support and take part in corporal punishment, such as spanking. Children of highly authoritarian parents may struggle socially and may be likely to become authoritarian parents themselves. So that's the first one. Any thoughts on an authoritarian parent?
I do. I want to know, do you think, because I've seen some parents that parent like this and they do have good kids, right?
Yes.
So I do think there is some good in it.
Yeah. And some of these by themselves, I would say maybe there's a combo parent too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But these parents usually have one-way mode of communication where the parent establishes strict rules and the child obeys. There's little to no room for negotiations from the child, and the rules are not usually explained. So they just say, this is how it is, take it or leave it.
It's because I'm the parent, you're the kid.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They expect their children to uphold to these standards while making no errors, and mistakes generally lead to punishment. These parents are normally less nurturing and have high expectations with limited flexibility. So we can get into what these children might look like after we kind of go through the parents.
So you mean like what the outcome might be of kids who have been parented this way?
Yes. Yes.
I cannot wait to hear.
Okay, the second one is the authoritative parenting. So this parent typically develops a close, nurturing relationship with their children. They have clear guidelines for their expectations and explain their reasons associated with disciplinary actions. Disciplinary methods are used as a way of support instead of punishment. Not only can children have input into goals and expectations, but there are also frequent and appropriate levels of communication between the parent and their child. Generally, this parenting style leads to the healthiest outcomes for children, but requires lots of patience and effort from both parties.
That sounds like the ideal, if one of them had to be right.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe a combo between those two. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What about you? Do any of those resonate with you, or either of those? Well, I guess we can get through the full. We'll listen to the 4 of them, and then we'll talk about where we think we fit in.
How we parented. Yes. The next one is permissive parenting. Permissive parents tend to be warm and nurturing and usually have minimal expectations. They impose limited rules on their children. Communication remains open, but parents allow their children to figure things out for themselves. These low levels of expectation usually result in rare uses of discipline. They act more like friends than parents.
Parenting is hard.
Parenting is hard, and there's no playbook,
manual,
right?
No.
You just kind of do what feels right to you, and I think a lot of it does deal with how you might have been parented or the things that you learned through parenting as well, whether you wanted to do those things or not.
Exactly. I think we can take either good or bad from something, and I've found that like I either do something because I hated this as a child so I avoid it and I do something different, or I liked it so I do that. And I guess that's how we parent, right? Is over the years. Trial and error.
Yes. Okay, the last one is uninvolved parenting. Children are given a lot of freedom, as this type of parent typically stays out of the way. They fulfill the child's basic needs while remaining detached from their child's life. An uninvolved parent does not utilize a particular disciplining style and has limited communication with their child. They tend to offer little nurturing while having little or no expectations of their children.
That sounds like a really easy parenting style. Just kind of hands off. You make your choices, which is good in adult life.
Yeah. It is interesting because they call it uninvolved parenting. This one is off of the NIH.gov. But according to Psychology Today, that parenting style is also known as neglectful parents or uninvolved or disengaged. So,
is this permissive?
No. This is what NIH calls uninvolved parenting, but Psychology Today calls it neglectful parenting.
Of one of the 4. That's what they've termed this parenting style.
Yeah.
Oh.
Psychology Today calls it neglectful parents or uninvolved or disengaged.
So the article that I found, it listed 4, and it has permissive, as I think of the one you're talking about right now. No?
Permissive is the one we talked about before this last one. Permissive is where they are attentive and warm, but they don't set many rules for their children. And then neglectful, they're kind of hands off, do your thing. So definitely one extreme where you're super involved to not really involved.
So I did find what each one of these parenting styles, what the results are. Do you have that as well?
Mm-hmm. I don't know what website you're on, but yeah, we can compare what the website
It's definitely
say.
not as accredited as yours.
So,
it's just a parent's.
Yeah, so what are you finding on authoritative parenting? What do those kids look like?
These are the 4 it lists: authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and uninvolved. So the first one, the authoritarian, you're going to run into kids that struggle with social skills, indecisiveness and trouble thinking on their own, low self-esteem, poor judge of character, anger management and resentfulness, hostility and aggression.
Okay.
Do you have that?
This kind of says the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, though, they're usually the most well-behaved in the room because of the consequences of misbehaving, of course, right? So they can better adhere to the precise instructions required to reach a goal, but the children do tend to have higher levels of aggression, shy, socially inept, and unable to make their own decisions. They also have difficulty managing anger because they were not provided with proper guidance. And then they do talk about poor self-esteem, inability to make decisions, and often influence the child to rebel against authority figures as they grow older.
So the authoritarian... A rebel? Just going against the...
Yeah.
This is why it is so hard. I still remember my kids are raised. That doesn't mean I'm still not there. They, you know what I mean? They still come to me for advice.
You still have influence in their lives.
I still have influence on their lives. But I struggled with this every single day on back and forth of how should I parent? Like, am I going to cause this? Am I going to do this? It is such a mind game every single day. Every single interaction you have with your child, at least I did, I was like, is this going to scar them? Is this going to make them better? You do the best you can. Yeah. So please, let's keep that in mind as we go through these, because I can find similarities in all of them.
Yeah.
Right? Definitely. On a bad day, I might say, because I said so. Like, I'm so tired of telling you this, because I said so. That's all the reasons you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that can cause kids to not be able to make their own choices. I don't know. Yeah. It's so difficult.
Were you a spanker?
No. I was a toddler, like if it was dangerous, that kind of thing. What about you? No judgment.
I tried to spank Caitlin once and she just laughed at me.
She's like, nice try.
So yeah, I spanked once. It didn't go well. So I did not spank again. Weird. But I think overall, Caitlin grew up pretty well. I don't know.
And that's what's so great about what you and I can say, because hindsight, we know that our kids made it, right?
Yeah.
Made it in quotation marks.
But if they were still 5 or 6 and you're questioning your parenting,
it's so hard.
It's hard. Yeah. Okay, what did you find on authoritative parenting? What do those kids look like?
All I can come up with are good things.
Yeah, apparently this is the one that you want to aim for, right? So you get children who are confident, responsible, able to self-regulate. They can manage their negative emotions more effectively, which leads to better social outcomes and emotional health. The parents encourage independence. Their children will also learn that they can accomplish goals independently. This results in children who grow up with higher self-esteem. Also, these children have high academic achievement and school performance. Did you find anything different?
Not anything different, just similar. So it says that if you resonate with these 4 statements, then you are probably an authoritative parent. It says you put a lot of effort into creating and maintaining a positive relationship with your child. You explain the reasons behind your rules. You set limits, enforce rules, and give consequences, but also consider your child's feelings. You use positive discipline strategies such as praise and rewards. It says if those statements sound familiar, you might practice authoritative parenting, which is considered the gold standard parenting style. Just ask Parents Magazine. They'll tell you. So it says kids with authoritative parents tend to have the following positive outcomes: close, nurturing relationships with parents, tendency to be responsible and respectful, ability to manage their aggression, high degrees of self-esteem and self-confidence, more likely to be happy and successful, ability to clearly express their emotions.
Okay. I almost sent this article to Caitlin last night to see what she thought kind of parenting style.
That's I thought the same thing.
Maybe we should send it to our children and see what they say.
Mm-hmm. So then it goes on to say what neglectful or uninvolved parenting looks like.
Yeah, let's hear.
I've been guilty of this sometimes. Sometimes I don't really care about what their homework says. You don't ask your child about school or homework. I mean, yes, bad days. I just didn't, but not every day. You rarely knew where your child is or who they are with. You don't spend much time with your child. You don't have many rules and expectations. I think we've seen that in parents and kids. And I know I've had days like that where I wasn't the best parent I could be.
So what do these children look like? They're usually resilient and maybe even more self-sufficient than children with other types of upbringing. However, these skills are developed out of necessity. Additionally, they may have trouble controlling their emotions because they have less effective coping strategies. They have academic challenges and difficulty maintaining or nurturing social relationships.
My list says that kids with this type of parenting have an increased likelihood of substance use, rebelliousness, delinquency, like vandalism, assault, rape, petty theft, lower cognitive and emotional empathy, diminished self-esteem. Might get in trouble at school or with the law, and they hesitate to form bonds with other people and exhibit depression. So there are subtypes of parenting. Do we want to get into those right now, or do we want to
talk about permissive?
Oh, yes. Okay. Mine are in the wrong order.
So permissive, limited rules can lead children to unhealthy eating habits, especially regarding snacks. This can result in increased risk for obesity and other health problems later in the child's life. The child also has a lot of freedom as they decide their bedtime, if or when to do their homework, and screen time with the computer and television. Freedom to this degree can lead to other negative habits as the parent does not provide much guidance on moderation. Overall, children of permissive parents usually have some self-esteem and decent social skills. However, they can be impulsive, demanding, selfish, and lack self-regulation.
Yeah. Kind of the same list I've got here. Impulsive, aggressive, lack of responsibility, difficult decision-making. Did you swing between all of these when you were...
I think I did swing between some of these. Like you said, some days you're like, you don't want to do your homework? Okay, don't do your homework. Mm-hmm. But then on the other hand, I feel like some days I was authoritative or authoritative or sometimes even permissive. So yeah, it's hard. I don't feel like I was one style. Maybe a mix between authoritarian and authoritative, if I'm to be honest. I don't know. How about you?
Agree. I think I would even swing, like I said, just being transparent. There were days, it definitely wasn't my go-to parenting style to be neglectful and not really care if they did their homework or not. But definitely days where you just have to survive, right? We're not going to thrive today. We're just going to get through the day. And permissive, absolutely. Who hasn't been a parent who's like, yeah, fine, whatever, just go do it. Just get out of my hair. Unfortunately, full-time parents, I'm sure, we have a lot more on our plate than being able to stay home. I've been both. I was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years and then went to school. And it's really hard to be a full-time stay-at-home parent. It's difficult. Absolutely swinging between all of those within a day even. Just from one mood to the next. But I think kids are pretty resilient. I think we've seen over the years, like Blindside, right? Like that poor kid, he came from a terrible background, and maybe even without their help, I don't remember their names.
I don't remember either.
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
But I think great outcomes can come from poor upbringings and vice versa. Even the best upbringings can create poor community citizens, right? We all have our free agency to make those choices beyond parenting.
Yep, for sure. Well, and when I started thinking about this, I was like, okay, how did I deal with situations when Caitlin was little? So a little story came to my mind when I went to the grocery store. I was a single mom at the time. We went to the grocery store to get food, and she wanted a treat and started to throw like a little fit because I said no. And I ended up walking out of the grocery store because I was not going to deal with the screaming and the acting out. I did not buy any of the groceries that I got. I grabbed her and we walked out and went to the car, and she was like, why didn't we get whatever it was? And I said, because you were acting crazy. I'm not going to put up with you throwing a fit in the grocery store. It's embarrassing as a parent to have your child sitting there kicking and screaming in the grocery store throwing a fit. So, needless to say, we left. She got her anger or whatever under control, and we ended up going back in, and she was normal after that, and I never had a tantrum or anything else ever after that.
Wow. So that's an anomaly. She learned from that one. That's really good.
Yeah.
A lot of kids don't.
Because I did not give in. You don't give in.
No, that is exactly. If I had a couple words of advice to give my kids having kids, it would be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are going to leave because they're throwing a fit, you have to do that every single time.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, they will hold on to that just like a dog and will just wait for it and put up a bigger fight because they know you'll cave. So consistency.
They'll walk all over you.
They will.
Allow them.
They'll walk all over you. So I watched this parenting style. It was a really cool program that went through these different parenting skills, styles, videos of them in action, and then every episode these group of parents voted on who they thought handled this type of situation the best. And in this, they had more than the 4 classified parenting styles, but they did have free range. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of free range parenting?
To me, that's kind of like permissive, or not permissive, right. Like the uninvolved parent, right?
Yeah. And maybe that's why they do have these subcategories, is because it goes in between 2. Maybe it's not full on neglect. Mm-hmm. It says free range parents give their children the independence of being less supervised or unsupervised in public. It's exactly what we were talking about in like a restaurant. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows kids are hard in public. We're not blaming the parents, but there does come a point where you need to teach the kid you can't act this way in public, right? Because other people are there in public for their own enjoyment, or they're paying for the same experience that you're hoping to have, so try not to take that from them.
Absolutely.
For a long time, parents who practiced this style were considered neglectful, and many thought they endangered their kids. But more recently, and after much debate, states like Utah passed laws in favor of hands-off parenting style. Specifically, Utah changed the definition of neglect so it doesn't include certain independent childhood activities like walking to school and playing outside. Proponents say it can instill amazing qualities like self-sufficiency and resilience. Isn't that interesting that Utah passed laws about hands-off parenting?
Is it because in Utah they have so many kids?
Maybe. They're like, fine, you don't have to take care of all of them. No, I'm wondering, and I'm trying to scroll through this as we're just right now. I'm wondering how recent this is, and if it, like what the whole Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke thing. I wonder if that has anything to do with that law.
I've not heard of this law, but I mean, that is a whole different level. Like, there's neglect, but then there's abuse. And I think
neglect is a form of abuse.
Well, it is, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it and see. I can't read it right now as far as fast enough as to what law and what the hands off, but I thought that was interesting. So another subcategory that I think we're all familiar with is the helicopter parenting. Overprotective, need to control your child's life. Did you feel that way at all? I did.
I mean, sometimes, but that's kind of an authoritative parent, right? Like, you have to know where your kid is every minute. You have to do...
Yeah, I guess how I relate to it, maybe just as they're playing or playing outside, like just kind of watching constantly, like, are they going to fall and get hurt? Oh no, they're not supposed to be doing that. Like, there's this balance between letting your kids do whatever they want and helicopter parenting, taking away the scissors out of their hands, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because you want your kids to learn things. You want them to be independent, but at the same time, you don't want them to get hurt. You don't want them to do the wrong thing, or it's a hard balance of let them be kids and learn on their own, or let me teach them the things that are going to happen in life if they do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that's a good point with the helicoptering. Not just stopping it, but actually taking a moment to teach, and so that you don't have to helicopter that same kind of moment 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
It says the risk assessing tendencies of helicopter parents are often driven by fear and anxiety, which I get, right? Fear that they're going to get hurt. Yeah. Parents who intervene in this way can hinder a child's ability to learn integral life skills, confidence, and self-sufficiency. They're unable to manage their emotions and behavior, right? Because you're just waiting. Somebody's going to come tell me if I shouldn't be doing this. Yeah. I don't have to make the decision.
Yeah. So as kids turn into adults and they've gone through these different parenting styles, just in your experience of working with other adults, and I think sometimes people say, oh, this coming in generation, like the young adults in our world, there tends to be some thought that, maybe they don't work as hard as the older generations. Maybe they don't have the same drive. Do you think that that's really a thing, or I don't know? What do you think?
Do I think it's a nature or a nurture?
I mean, we can get into that in another podcast. But do you think this generation has been more of that uninvolved or permissive parenting that's a young adult? Do you feel like they've been more like us? Because, right, this is our parenting generation. We're bringing these young adults in. Do you think there were more of those kind of hands-off parents that are, thinking about video games and all those things that our kids have had? I mean, we had the Nintendo and Sega, but
I think there's a definite culture allowing children to monitor themselves and be more in control of their actions, and not necessarily a fitting children into what is normal or normal behavior. Right. I think this generation is allowing their children to be more explorative or explore freely. It goes against my parenting style because I think there's a lot of lessons missed by just letting a child.
Do you think it's having an effect on our workforce, though? Do you feel like people are coming in and they're lazy? They have to be monitored more?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think there's a culture of, you're lucky to have me here. I can walk out anytime I want and go find another job. I think we've seen standards go down. I know in places I've worked, there used to be policies where you couldn't have a tattoo or you couldn't have this piercing or this color hair, and those are no longer the case. And so there's good and bad that come with it. I think everybody's letting their guard down on things, but there still needs to be some kind of boundary.
Yeah.
I think boundary is the word that is missing for me when I think about letting free range kids. I went off a tangent. Yes, I think it's affecting the work. I do.
I definitely think it has affected the workforce. Like, even if you go to a fast food restaurant, right? Where's the quality
customer service?
The customer service, or even the quality of food. Like, who packed this bag? You got my order wrong. Things like that. I mean, just little things. And of course, it's fast food.
But I don't think people are being held accountable to a certain standard. There used to be a standard of, this is what you can expect. This is what we expect from the youth when working. The customer's always right. Or where's this hospitality? I experienced that just yesterday. I was kind of shocked. This is TMI. But I was ordering something and I had a few ingredients in it. And she said, you want, I'll just say it, it was a shake. You want all of those things in one shake. Yeah, I do. And you better fasten your seatbelt because there's another shake order coming right after this one that has more than one ingredient. So it was the attitude of, what? Okay, fine. I'll put your cheesecake bites in your chocolate shake. Just... And I'll tell you what I ordered. I ordered a raspberry cheesecake shake with a chocolate ice cream base. That's it.
That sounds yummy.
It. And then I ordered for my husband a lemon custard with Oreo and cheesecake. And apparently that was too much.
It threw him off.
It threw her off.
I cannot tell you how many restaurants we do not go to anymore because, okay, we'll give them a chance. They got it wrong. All right, give them another chance. They get it wrong. And it's so frustrating because these are places that we love, that we used to go to all the time, but we don't go to anymore because they can't ever get our order right.
You're finding this in?
One off the bat is Noodles and Company.
Oh, I like Noodles and Company.
I do too, but you mess up, put the wrong ingredients in, you burn the noodle. There's so many.
Well, it's expensive. Things are expensive, more expensive than they've ever been. And so if I'm going to be a patron to your business, there's a certain level of expectations, right, that I'm paying for. And that's good customer service.
Yep.
Don't make me feel like a fatty at your drive-thru because I want 2 ingredients in my shake. Don't question me, skinny. Anyway.
Just don't mess up my food, because I then take it home and I get home and it's like, this is so gross, or this isn't right, or this is cold, or I don't know.
Do you have the fear that if you say anything, you're going to get spit in your food? Like, I was so disgusted with how she treated me.
Especially if they take it and they're like, oh, let me go back and...
Let me go remove this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You're going to not have onions anymore, but you're going to have a loogie in there. That's exactly it. Like, I did not want to let on that I was so disgusted by her questioning my shake because I didn't want an extra ingredient in there.
Yeah. Yep.
So
we say that all the time. Oh, just watch. They're going to go spit in your food now.
Can you please remove the onions and hold the spit? Anyway, boundaries, expectations, standards. I just think those are more blurred. I think in this, which is fine. There needs to be evolution. There needs to be change. I get it. I get that I'm falling into this old person mentality. I do.
I know. But you always teased your parents that they were old because they were complaining, but I'm turning into my parents, apparently.
I know. It just happens, whether you want it to or not. It happens.
Yeah. But it is frustrating. So a lot of it maybe just us being old farts. But I do think that there's a lot to be said about how kids have been brought up and that are coming into their adulthood. Or not even wanting to work, right? They just want to play video games. I don't want to get a job.
If you look back over the decades and even just watching old shows like Leave It to Beaver or My Three Sons, you can definitely pick out parenting styles in those shows, right? I feel like maybe parenting is evolving, not to my liking, but that was more of an authoritative. You do what I say. Children are to be seen, not heard. You know, just all those, because you're the child. You don't sit there. I'm the adult. And I think it's getting softer. And I think just time will tell what this soft culture brings.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned TV shows. I mean, I grew up on Cosby and Simpsons and, oh my gosh, there's so many. I can't even rattle them off. But yeah, it is interesting to see over time. It'd be fun to kind of go back and watch those old shows like Leave It to Beaver and compare them to, I don't know, what's a family show that's out there today?
Well, even back in the same day, like Married with Children, that was so so different from Leave It to Beaver and just on its own. Like, oh wow, dare they? They've got spicy kids talking and
Married with Children and Cosby and all those Friday night shows, the Brady Bunch, the
Urkel
was on
whatever
Urkel.
his name was. Family Matters.
There was
So a
Silver
couple
Spoons
more.
and anyway, I digress.
We have digressed, but it's been wonderful. So
but it does show the culture over time and how parenting has changed,
evolved.
For sure.
I hadn't heard of this one. Snowplow parenting, also known as lawnmower or bulldozer parenting, are willing to drop everything to fulfill their child's wants and demands, no matter how small. They essentially plow down anything standing in their child's way.
Are these the parents on the football field who are like, my
I
child deserves to play?
Okay. I think you're right. Or
give them a participation trophy.
Right? Like, oh, your teacher isn't doing this. Let's get you moved out of that class. That's in your way.
Yep.
Not how to deal with it, but let's remove it from your path.
I can see
a lighthouse parenting. One of the more balanced methods of parenting, the lighthouse approach, was coined by pediatrician Ginsburg. We should be like lighthouses for our children, stable beacons of light on the shoreline from which they can measure themselves against. This type of parenting involves finding the perfect balance between loving, protecting, communicating, nurturing, and guidance. And then the last one is attachment parenting. Parents who follow this style of putting the child's need first leads to independence and emotional stability. Extended breastfeeding is part of this, bed sharing, co-sleeping, positive discipline. Did you share a bed with Caitlin?
I mean, okay, in the middle of the night when you're breastfeeding, You bring them up, you put them on the bed, you feed them, they fall asleep, you fall asleep. But as far as like every night, no.
Like, let's go to bed. This is where you sleep. This is where I sleep.
No.
I was such a hard ass for kids in bed, and I did not breastfeed in bed, and now I wish I had, because I think I lost years off of my life trying to breastfeed and get a baby laying down after they fell asleep, and then getting myself back in bed and fall asleep.
Yeah.
So
just
I wish
for
I
them to wake up
that.
again and
Yeah, and I didn't get any sleep. Absolutely. Sorry, I was wrong. There's another one. It's called tiger parenting.
Oh,
displaying.
I have heard.
Have you heard this?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. Rigid and harsh characteristics. Tiger parents expect obedience and success.
I think there was a show on tiger parenting, but they're in that authoritative type. So, yeah. The Tiger Mom. I think there's a show called The Tiger Mom.
It says the term gained mainstream attention due to Amy Chow's, or I don't know how to say the last name, book, Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mom, where she describes tiger parenting as an authoritarian method commonly used in Chinese culture.
Yep.
It says correlation between tiger parenting and anxiety in children, possibly due to their parents' high standards, high demands, expectations for perfection. If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do differently, or what advice do you have for a new parent?
Give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Like we said, we've gone through all these different types, but it's hard. It is so hard. Come up with a plan on what you're going to try to do, but if you can't make it or you have a bad day, it's okay.
It is okay.
Your kid's going to grow up no matter what. And I think my biggest regret is going to school and being a single mom. And I feel like I lost a lot of years with my child, and just live in the moment, be part of their lives, and they're not going to be young forever. So enjoy the time that you have with them.
Yeah. I think it goes by so quickly that even if you were just constantly where you thought you should be as a parent, it would go by so quickly that you would feel like you could have done more.
Yeah.
Even if we did do the best we could.
And you're never going to feel like you're doing the best.
Mm-mm.
Like, never. Regardless of how you're parenting, you're always going to feel like you did something wrong.
Well, we're human, right? Mm-hmm. So our emotions are going to overtake in times when we should be more focused on the child. We're still humans and give in to those tendencies. Something we haven't talked about, though, is even if you are, like, let's say, a certain type of parent, that may work for one child. Yeah. But if you've got multiple children, they take different parenting styles. Mm-hmm. And you may be able to be a tiger parent with one, but you have to be a pushover. A permissive with the other. Yeah. But yeah, different kids.
Yeah,
call
every
for different
kid is different.
Style.
And every personality is different. It's so hard.
You have to parent different personalities. You're one person or two, you and your partner. And the more kids you have, the more different personalities they're going to be.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of had it easy with Caitlin, right? One kid.
You're cutting yourself short. You've done a lot of parenting to other children.
But yeah, when you have then stepchildren and trying to learn their personalities, and all of the kids, I mean, they're so different. Mm-hmm. And each
your
of my
role is different.
Each of my stepchildren are totally different. Like, their personalities are so different, and the way that they respond to different things is so different. So I think that's a great point, is that every kid, even if they're your own biological children, are so different. I think you could probably say that all three of your kids are so different. So
100%. Yeah. Parented them all three differently.
Yeah.
What worked for one didn't work for the other.
Yeah. So give yourself grace. There's no playbook. There's no right or wrong answer, but just do the best you can.
Even if you do it right, they're going to blame you anyway. They're going to call you one day and be like, oh, this is why I do this. Because you instilled that fear in me. Has Caitlin come back to you with that?
Oh.
Tessa did. When I told her we were doing this podcast, she's like, oh, you should do like generational trauma. And I was like, what? Why? What trauma do you have? And so she shared with me, she said, well, you had some experiences in your dating history with being cheated on or being left. And she said, you've got trauma of being abandoned. And so that trauma that you carried with you as a mom, she's like, I've never been abandoned. I've never been cheated on, but I have those fears now. And so, I mean, that's a topic for another day that we can get into, but generational parenting, it gets carried over. Yeah. Do the best you can.
Yeah. What you experienced in your past, you try to protect your kids from. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
My mom passed away when I was young. How do I not?
I'm sure Caitlin would have all kinds of stories on.
Yeah.
These are the things that you did that I now bear.
Secondhand. Yeah. I never experienced this, but thanks to you, I got to experience this. Yeah. We can talk about that in another episode, and have Caitlin and Tessa come on and
there you go.
Share with them
all the bad things we instilled in them.
Yes. And then at the end of it, we'll be like, and look how wonderful you turned out.
That's right.
So that just shows that even the worst parenting can have success.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So fun.
Do you have any words of wisdom to leave us with today?
I do. There's just a couple. These are uplifting quotes for a parent just to keep going. It says, "We're all imperfect parents, and that's perfectly okay. Tiny humans need connection, not perfection." I thought that was kind of a cute little saying.
That. Yeah.
And then another one is, "Parenting without a sense of humor is like being an accountant who sucks at math." So that's a good tip, right? Laugh through it. Just laugh at your mistakes. And then don't let yourself become so concerned with raising a good kid that you forget you already have one.
Aw, yeah. I like that one. Those are all great.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
To just
do the best you can. Each day is a new day. If you were a bad parent yesterday, do better today.
Yep. I don't think there's a bad parent. We're all just doing our best.
We're just learning as we go. Nobody teaches you how to be a parent before you have a baby. You were a child. You can't learn from how your parents parented because you were the child in that relationship.
Yep, absolutely. Well, as always, thank you for another great episode. It was so fun to talk about these things with you. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Have a good week, Kelly.
You too.
Talk later. Bye-bye.
Bye. If you or someone you know has thoughts of hurting themselves or others, please text or call 988. They will direct you to someone in your community that can help. You can also call 911 in an emergency.
Remember, you never know what someone else is going through. Sending peace and love to all. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook.